Good afternoon. First item of business is a statement by Claire Hawkey on the independent inquiry into mental health services in Tayside. The Minister will take questions at the end of her statement, so there should be no interventions or interruptions. I call Claire Hawkey. Minister, please.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Last month, Dr David Strang published the final report of the independent inquiry into Tayside mental health services. I would like to thank Dr Strang, the inquiry team and the Health and Social Care Alliance for their hard work. In particular, I also want to thank everyone who contributed to this inquiry. Over 1,500 people shared their often incredibly painful experiences and personal testimonies. Far too many people have been let down, and while it's not enough on its own, I would like to offer my apology on behalf of the Scottish Government for what they have endured. Many Tayside patients, their families and friends, including those who have lost loved ones, will have found the report challenging. Their bravery, courage and candour was vital to shaping this report. I also want to thank staff who participated and who are committed to ensuring delivery of excellent services in the future. The report outlines a range of issues and calls for a new culture of working across NHS Tayside and the 3 health and social care partnerships. It makes 51 recommendations across 5 areas: governance and leadership, crisis and community services, inpatient services, child and adolescent mental health services and staffing. NHS Tayside and its local authority partners have accepted the report and its findings and recommendations in full. At NHS Tayside Board's meeting on the 27th of February, the Chief Executive, Grant Archibald, also apologised to anyone whose experience of Tayside's mental health services had fallen short of the expectations that we all rightly have for these services. The Board also agreed to collaborate with partners to deliver a Tayside-wide response to the inquiry's findings. Partnership working is the cornerstone of the approach that will be taken to respond to the inquiry report. A Tayside Collaborative Strategic Leadership Group has been established, comprising of Chief Executives from NHS Tayside, Angus Council, Dundee City Council and Perth and Kinross Council, and the Police Scotland Tayside Divisional Commander. Collective responsibility and accountability are emphasised in their published Statement of Intent, and it commits to implementing necessary improvements through the development and delivery of a Tayside-wide strategy and change programme for improving mental health and well-being. One of the recommendations of the inquiry report relates to delivery of mental health and well-being services in the context of health and social care integration. It recommends that the NHS Board and the 3 integration joint boards review the delegated responsibilities for the operational delivery of these services across Tayside to ensure clarity of understanding and commitment. In line with the inquiry report and the views of NHS trade unions and professional bodies, both the Health Secretary and I have made no secret of our concerns about the approach to operational management of inpatient mental health services in Tayside. These arrangements have been unduly complex and are unique to Tayside. That is why I am clear that operational management of general adult psychiatry services must now be led by NHS Tayside rather than an integration authority. NHS Tayside will now implement this change and will work closely with its integration partners in doing so. I believe this simplification will bring welcome clarity to the local arrangements and allow the partnership to focus on improved services for patients. The issues identified by the inquiry cannot be resolved by one single agency. It's crucial that there is a whole system review of services. And last week I received a progress report from NHS Tayside published on the board's website, which outlines activity to drive change. I have been clear that a comprehensive action plan to detail how each recommendation will be met must be taken forward, and that work is underway. For this to happen in a way that delivers the change that we need to see, NHS Tayside and its partners must listen to service users, families, carers and staff. And I am encouraged that they have set out a commitment to ensure they listen to the voices of people who work in mental health services, service users, families and carers, so future services can be co-designed and co-produced. The inquiry report recommends that a full plan be developed in partnership and published by June 2020, and I expect this timescale to be met. Later today, I will also meet with members of the Tayside Stakeholder Participation Group, chaired by the Health and Social Care Alliance Scotland. I look to NHS Tayside and their partners to continue to build upon this, keeping patients' needs at the heart of their discussions. Organisational development is vital. The report found many staff did not feel valued or listened to or treated with respect. Staff reported a lack of clarity around line management and accountability, and a culture of blame rather than an organisation open to learning from adverse events. This is unacceptable. Engagement is the first step, and work with staff is already underway to support this, and I'm encouraged to hear safe space meetings are happening, enabling staff to discuss their concerns confidentially. The report explores the impact of workforce changes on delivery of mental health services, and this includes the ability of staff to participate in training and supervision requirements. It raises questions about how we ensure people have the right skills and experience to do their jobs, and how they are involved in helping to find solutions to workforce challenges across social work, social care, clinical settings and the third sector. I'm encouraged that Tayside are working with staff, unions and professional bodies to develop a response, and it will form a key part of their whole system strategy. We are also pursuing action in this area. There are psychiatry recruitment challenges right across the UK which require collaborative, concerted action, and we are working with the Royal College of Psychiatrists, NHS Education Scotland and medical schools to promote psychiatry as an attractive career to address these fundamental challenges. And we are also on course to deliver our commitment to 800 extra mental health workers in Scotland by the end of 2022. As of the 1st of January this year, 375 posts had been recruited. To help deliver improvements in Tayside, I announced a support package on the 31st of January, and this package includes multidisciplinary clinical and practice support, bringing specialists from across a range of specialties and backgrounds to provide support and challenge. And I very much welcome that colleagues who have helped produce a highly regarded Lanarkshire mental health strategy are now also working with NHS Tayside. This multidisciplinary support will develop a mental health strategy for all of Tayside, strengthen governance and reporting arrangements, improve consultation and engagement, enable delivery of Tayside's improvement plans, create a culture and change Tayside-wide programme for all mental health and care staff, and undertake a review of current service provision. And this will be complemented by programme management expertise provided by NHS Information Services Division. The multidisciplinary team will work with NHS Education Scotland to engage with NHS Tayside organisational development teams, ensuring that they respond to the inquiry's recommendations to support staff. And additionally, the Royal College of Psychiatry's UK College Centre for Quality Improvement, the CCQI, will independently assess the quality of clinical services in Tayside. This CCQI focuses on 4 key areas: quality networks, accreditation, national clinical audits and research and evaluation. And through the Scottish Government's former Principal Medical Officer, Dr John Mitchell, we have also facilitated expert clinical support and guidance through the Royal College of Psychiatrists. And finally, Health Improvement Scotland will offer specific support to Tayside in addressing the quality of adult community health services. Let me be clear, Presiding Officer, this is not a one-off support package. We will continue to work closely with NHS Tayside and local partnerships through the Tayside Oversight Group, seeking assurance that improvements are being implemented. And we will also continue to work with COSLA to ensure that NHS boards, councils and integrated joint boards are supported to work together across Scotland. I'm also very grateful that the chair of the independent inquiry, Dr David Strang, has also agreed to undertake a progress update in Tayside in February 2021, and this will provide an independent assessment of improvements. Presiding Officer, I have already committed that learning from the inquiry will be fed into our national approach to quality and safety. We want to bring greater coherence to the arrangements for quality planning and improvement and assurance for mental health, and that's why we've now established a Quality and Safety Board for mental health. I chaired the first meeting of that board on the 19th of February, and it will have an important role in taking forward 2 of the national recommendations contained within the inquiry final report. The first is for a national review of the assurance and scrutiny of mental health services across Scotland, including the powers of Health Improvement Scotland and the Mental Welfare Commission Scotland. And the second is for a national review of the guidelines for responding to substance misuse on inpatient wards. With regard to the latter, there are commitments in our mental health strategy and in this year's programme for government, which will drive service improvements for people with comorbid mental health and substance misuse. I look forward to updating parliamentary colleagues on the work of the Quality and Safety Board in due course. We must work to ensure that concerns raised in Tayside are not being experienced elsewhere, and it's vital that we continue to put people at the centre of this work. The safety of our patients and the quality of these services that they receive is paramount. I would like to finish by reaffirming this government's commitment to support Tayside to deliver the services that people need. I am also committed to learning from the experiences in Tayside. It's vital that people in Tayside have access to high quality, safe and effective service, and that they have trust and confidence in their care. And that is what they and all communities across Scotland deserve.
Thank you very much, Minister. Minister will now take questions on the statement. Press the request to speak button if you wish to ask a question. First question, Miles Briggs, followed by Monica Lennon.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. And can I thank the Minister for advance sight of the statement? The independent inquiry into mental health services in Tayside is a shocking indictment of mental health services failing some of the most vulnerable people in our society, and a culture of NHS staff in Tayside demoralised and not being supported in providing the care and services people so desperately need. Families will therefore welcome the public apology the Minister has given today. However, most important is for us now to see real change. So can I ask the Minister, how will the recommendations to restore trust be benchmarked beyond 2021 and Dr Strang's work, which she's outlined today? And in other parts of Scotland, concerns are being expressed today, similar concerns over pressures in mental health services and NHS staff overworked and demoralised, with the Royal College of Psychiatrists warning that services are facing a workforce crisis. What steps nationally, therefore, will ministers take following this inquiry to guarantee that we do not see a repeating of these failings across other boards? And will the Quality and Safety Board outline any of these problems when they are actually highlighted, so that we see an early intervention reporting of staff and patient and family concerns?
Minister.
I thank Mr Briggs for his questions there. I think he raises some really important issues. I think we certainly do need to ensure that going forward, NHS Tayside and its partners listen to those who use the service and to the staff who are working within the service, as well as the trade unions and the professional bodies. That's a commitment that they made and that their partners have made, and certainly I will be scrutinising the work that they do, as will Scottish Government, to ensure that they do deliver what they have said that they will deliver. And we will work very closely with all of the organisations involved in that. I am very heartened to hear about their ongoing work with organisations such as the Alliance to ensure that all service reviews within NHS Tayside and its partners will be advised by service users and their carers, and that they will have a voice within those plans going forward. As regarding the benchmarking beyond 2021, I can't commit Dr David Strang to that. We have, I asked that he, as a measure of assurance to those who have participated to this inquiry, and I sincerely thank them again for doing so, that he came back and independently scrutinise what has been done after a year. I'm aware that there would be concerns from people if there was not a scrutiny of that. And so certainly I'm happy to engage in discussions on how we continue to ensure that NHS Tayside and its partners deliver high quality healthcare going forward from 2021 onwards.
Monica Lennon, followed by Shona Robertson.
Thank you, and I thank the Minister for advance sight of her statement. Scottish Labour welcomes the Government's apology to the families for what they have endured. And we are pleased that NHS Tayside and its partners have accepted the Strang recommendations in full. Any resistance to positive change must be left in the past. The Minister has set out her expectations around implementation, but can I ask her to give a guarantee that the action plan she has instructed will meet the 51 recommendations in full, and what action the Government will take if progress is too slow or not comprehensive? The Minister also said we must work to ensure that the concerns raised in Tayside are not being experienced elsewhere. I know constituents in Lanarkshire who are working with some of the families in Tayside because of their common experiences, including Karen McKeown, who met the Minister following her partner's death by suicide. What guarantee can the Minister give people across Scotland that they will not have to fight as hard as the families in Tayside for whole system changes to be made in their areas?
Minister.
I thank Monica Lennon for her question there, and there were several questions within there, so my apologies if I don't answer them all, and I'm happy to come back to her with more detail if what I say doesn't satisfy those questions. I welcome your statement there in terms of welcoming the NHS Tayside and their partners' acceptance of this report. There should be no doubt that there should be no resistance to change and to accepting the recommendations of this independent inquiry, and I am assured by the reassurances that I've had by the Tayside Collaborative Strategic Leadership Group that they are accepting of those and do want to work together to change and ensure that there is quality and safety and that people feel reassured by accessing those services there. One of the reasons that I set up the Quality and Safety Board, which includes members from Royal Colleges, from NHS Chief Executives, from COSLA, from the Mental Welfare Commission and Health Improvement Scotland, is to ensure that we have an overview of services across Scotland in mental health services, and that we're able to look at areas where perhaps we need to improve, but also to look at areas of best practice and how we can spread that best practice across the country. So I would like to assure Ms Lennon that I certainly will not be taking my eye off the ball in terms of quality and safety across mental health services in Scotland.
Thank you. I have 11 members, 13 minutes, so I'm asking for self-discipline and, if possible, shorter answers. Shona Robertson, followed by Alexander Stewart.
Can I thank the Minister for her statement and welcome the changes to governance arrangements for inpatient beds? Can I also thank David Strang for his meeting last week, and particularly thank those who gave personal experience to the inquiry? Can the Minister outline how the 51 recommendations will be taken forward by NHS Tayside, particularly those relating to building trust and respect between patients and their families, staff and NHS Tayside? What capacity do the board have in mental health leadership to drive forward the changes required? And finally, what oversight will the Scottish Government provide to make sure these changes happen?
I appreciate you're a member for the area, but you know we've got to move on. Minister.
Thank you very much. I thank Shona Robinson for our question. I'm really grateful to David Strang for agreeing to undertake a further review. This will build upon Scottish Government's Tayside Oversight Group, which will continue to monitor the progress there. She spoke about trust and respect, and those are absolutely key in terms of ensuring that all of the voices that need to be heard at NHS Tayside and their partners are heard, and I am encouraged by what the Tayside Collaborative Strategic Leadership Group and the key stakeholders are saying in that regard.
Alexander Stewart, followed by Emma Harper.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. In the statement, it is recommended that the NHS Board and the 3 integrated joint boards review their delegated responsibilities. Therefore, Minister, how can you ensure that NHS Tayside will provide the protected training time for their staff, which will require them to ensure that this becomes a reality?
Minister.
I thank Mr Stewart for that question. I think that is absolutely key, and that's one of the key areas that we need to ensure is that staff feel that they are adequately trained, that they have capacity to reflect on their work, that they have supervision, and that they are able to express their concerns in a way where they do not feel judged or that they feel that they are going to be supported. And so that's why I welcome the sessions that NHS Tayside have introduced, where staff are able to express their concerns, and driving forward quality and safety and service redesign within NHS Tayside will need to include those staff side partners.
Emma Harper, followed by David Stewart.
Thanks. I just want to remind Chamber I'm a co-convener of the Mental Health Cross-Party Group. Can the Minister clarify for me, for those with lived experiences, what they will have as part of a role in ensuring that recommendations of the report are delivered and that patients can remain central to this process?
Minister.
As I said earlier on, I think in response to a question, I welcome the involvement of all stakeholders in the ongoing and previous discussions about NHS Tayside's care and treatment of people accessing mental health services. Those voices are absolutely key to the work going forward, and I welcome NHS Tayside's continuing engagement with their stakeholder group.
David Stewart, followed by David Thornton.
Presiding officer, I and other members across the Chamber will be aware of pressures in mental health services in our own areas, so a commitment for a national review by the Government is very welcome. But can the Minister outline what the expected timescales are for the completion of the work and when she expects to be back to update the Chamber on the work of the Quality and Safety Board?
Minister.
So I'm sorry if Mr Stewart has misunderstood what I said. I wasn't carrying out a review of mental health services across. The Quality and Safety Board is there to draw together different organisations to look at the quality and safety right across the country. However, I am happy to make a commitment, as I did in my statement, to come back and provide further updates on the work that the Quality and Safety Board is doing. Two of the recommendations within the Strang report are national recommendations, and those will be key parts of the work that we will be doing within the Quality and Safety Board.
David Torrance, followed by Mark Ruskell.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Minister, how can the report's findings and NHS Tayside's response to them help address recruitment challenges in mental health services in Teesside?
Minister.
So I thank David Torrance for that question. I think the development of whole system approach to mental health and wellbeing strategy will create new roles and new opportunities for staff, such as advanced nurse practitioners, and that will create more capacity and attractive opportunities, I would hope. As I said earlier, we are working with the Royal College of Psychiatrists, with Nhst, and medical schools to promote psychiatry as an attractive career. But through looking at their services and their service redesign, I am sure that NHS Tayside and their partners will be looking at how to use the skills that they already have within their existing workforce and using that to maximum effect, which also is good for staff development.
Mark Ruskell, followed by Alec Cole-Hamilton.
The report states that patients were sometimes dismissed by staff as troublesome, antagonistic, problematic and not to be trusted. Clearly, staff at NHS Tayside were under enormous pressure and that compassion fatigue may have been a factor in the service. Can the Minister outline how staff will be supported to develop positive relationships with patients, as well as action to address staff wellbeing more broadly within NHS Tayside?
Minister.
Thank Mr Ruskell for that question. Scottish Government has regularly engaged with staff representatives, and it was clear from our last meeting with them on the 28th of January, where I was in attendance and the Cabinet Secretary for Health and Sport, that significant concerns did remain. We welcome Tayside's commitment to working in partnership with their staff and staff representatives to ensure everyone has the opportunity to contribute, learn and influence and shape the future of mental health services within Tayside. And as I said in my statement, I'm encouraged to hear that the safe space meetings are running and that will enable staff to raise concerns in an environment where they feel it's confidential, it's safe and they're supported.
Alec Cole-Hamilton, followed by Rona Mackay.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. The catalyst for much of this work were the tragic circumstances under which David Ramsey was turned away twice at Carsview before he sadly took his own life. What assurance can the Minister give the Chamber that should somebody appear at Carsview in a state of mental health crisis today, that they would not also be turned away?
Minister.
I would expect that anyone who presents in a state of mental health crisis is given a thorough mental health assessment, that there is a proper risk assessment carried out by either the person who's carrying out the assessment, whether that be a doctor, nurse or an allied health professional. Those are things that go on day in, day out in community mental health teams across the country, in accident and emergency departments, and also within our inpatient settings. That I would expect that people are thoroughly assessed, that if it was felt that admission was not the best course of treatment for them at that point in time, appropriate treatment was put in place for them, whether that be crisis services, whether that be community services, or whether that be third sector organisations, and that people are properly signposted and given the support that they need to deal with whatever crisis they're going through at that moment in time. And I would expect that right across our NHS.
Rona Mackay, followed by Bill Bowman.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The report states that honest scrutiny is a powerful tool leading to improvements in service. How can the Scottish Government assist NHS Tayside to create a culture of greater openness, allowing greater scrutiny?
Minister.
So thank Rona Mackay for that question. One of the findings of the inquiry report was that as an organisation, NHS Tayside was not open to learning from adverse experiences. Indeed, staff reported a blame culture. And as I said earlier, organisational development is vital, and NHS Tayside are already taking steps to better engage with staff and with service users and their families. And the package of measures that I announced in January and the work being done between NHS Tayside, Nhst and the Royal College of Psychiatrists will support this, along with the oversight work of the new Quality and Safety Board.
Bill Bowman, followed by Lewis MacDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. People coming from Tayside and further afield were given the gold standard of acute treatment at the Mulberry's Bespoke Friendly Centre, and the end of that service sent them all to the overloaded Carsview unit in Nine Wells. Will the Minister agree that this Government and NHS Tayside, now that the buck is stopping with NHS Tayside instead of the IJBs, should reintroduce this gold standard Mulberry facility for the benefit of the people in Angus and Dundee whose relatives are crammed into an overcapacity Carsview?
Minister.
I thank Mr Bowman for his question. NHS Tayside halted changes to their reconfiguration programme in line with the inquiry's interim report recommendations in May 2018, and both myself and the Cabinet Secretary made it clear that we would not support NHS Tayside's proposals for changing inpatient services until we were satisfied that they were framed by consideration of the whole system, including local services and local community services. And I expect Tayside's strategy for transforming and improving mental health and wellbeing, as described in my statement, to give careful consideration to all available resources at NHS Tayside's disposal to ensure the best outcome for staff, for patients and for their families.
Lewis MacDonald, followed by George Adam.
Thank you very much. The Minister mentioned the Royal College of Psychiatry, but David Strang was very clear that nursing and allied health profession leadership should also be involved in designing a balanced and sustainable mental health service in Tayside going forward. Does the Minister agree that's a very important recommendation, and how will it be delivered?
Minister.
I absolutely agree, and I'm sure that won't come as a surprise to Mr MacDonald, that allied health professionals and nurses and others play an absolute key role in delivering our mental health services day in and day out across the country. As I mentioned in a previous answer, the use of advanced nurse practitioners certainly can expand services and look at providing additional support where perhaps there are not as many medical staff as we would like, or psychiatrists. So AHPs, OTs and nurses provide absolutely key and vital care day in, day out to our mental health services. And we need to be looking at using their skills more effectively and having these professions working to the top of their licence so that they're able to free up capacity in other parts of the service, but also key to that, provide quality service.
And George Adam, I'm afraid question and answer must be brief.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Can the Minister set out what impact improved recruitment in mental health in Tayside may have on achieving the recommendations in the report?
Minister.
I think recruitment does play a part in this, and I set out in an earlier answer the steps that Scottish Government is taking to improve the amount of medical students taking up training in psychiatry. That's not an issue that is exclusive to Scotland or to Tayside. It's an issue that's faced across very much of the Western world. So we need to be looking at investing and improving the capabilities of our other healthcare professionals, as I said to Lewis MacDonald, and making sure that our services are provided with quality and with safety, regardless of the profession who is delivering that service.
Thank you. That concludes questions of the statement. I thank the Minister and members. We managed to get through all the questions, which is excellent. And shortly move on to portfolio questions.